You. What it do, yo? Hey, listen. Don't touch me. So I'm getting started on this topic right here with the wrongful convictions. Basically, in the semester, we touch on different topics. One of the topics is Khalif Browder, who we know is the young man who unfortunately spent 3 years at Rikers Island, and by the time that his term was over, they finally realized that he never committed the crime or that there wasn't proof to keep him in Rikers for that long. But while they kept him there, he was there for 2 years in solitary confinement. Unfortunately, he ended up taking his life as a result. But even more unfortunate is Khalif is not the only Khalif out here. There's a whole bunch of different individuals who have experienced what Khalif has experienced. It just so happens to be that his case got a lot of notoriety and press. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the topic of wrongful convictions, because there's this term called exonerations that is very important to understand. Basically, when you're exonerated, it means that basically you're incarcerated at the moment, but you get released earlier than what you were supposed to, based off of some lack of evidence or the ability to prove that you didn't do it, right? So basically that's what we're gonna focus on in this video right here. So let's get started. I'm gonna share the screen with you. You know what I'm saying? Apologies for the rooster in the back. It's not even morning no more, it's 1 p.m. out here. But rooster gonna do what a rooster gonna do. Okay. I'm dead. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. So basically we talk about exonerations in general, right? Because there's definitely various individuals who get wrongfully convicted, on a not so, spread out distance. A total of 166 wrongly convicted people whose convictions date back as far as 1964 were declared innocent in 2016. So you're just talking about the ones that were actually found as wrongfully convicted, right? And basically exonerated. In the time frame of 1996 to 2016, you had an increase in exonerations when it came to drug possession or sale, as well as homicide. The main reason for this is the ability to basically use science in the field of criminal justice, right? DNA tracking and evidence became a thing that obviously changed the game, because the thing about DNA is that there will never be another person who has the same exact DNA as you. No one will ever have the same fingerprint as you, same exact, DNA compounds and everything. So that basically narrows down whether or not you committed a crime or not, if they're able to find something. So you can see in the late 90s, you still had, numbers for drug possession and sale and homicide at a low. But throughout time, it starts increasing because organizations such as the Innocence Project got involved in working to reverse convictions that were found to either have, faulty eyewitness testimonies or, lack of evidence and things of that nature. So you can see that throughout the time frame from the late 90s to 2016, exonerations have gone up. But you're talking about, only up to a certain number, because at the end of the day, we already know that the overall prison population as it stands right now, and just the people behind bars, is over 2.3 million. So a couple of hundred people, while that is good news, is not necessarily indicating that a lot of progress is being made in the span of everything put together. Let's see. So that was specifically talking about a county. I'll let you run through that if you're interested in looking over it. But we're talking about some of the general racial biases that exist when it comes to incarceration as well as exonerations. So we already know the overall U.S. population is predominantly white. You could combine the Black and Hispanic populations together, and it still doesn't even equal half of the white population. Of course, that's going to change in maybe like 30 more years when America becomes a majority-minority country. But in the meantime, the white community is still the overall largest population in the United States. Even though that is true and is by a long shot in comparison to the Black community, you have 59% of inmates in general or people incarcerated from the white community, and then 38% are from the Black community, right? Even though they make up a small population of people. Then you also have, in regards to exonerations, more of them being towards the Black community, because of course, you have the Black community being incarcerated 2-3 times as much as the white community. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, that's going to give more opportunity to exonerate the Black community. But of course, there are exonerations done for the white community as well. So we're talking about the exonerated population in general. The average person who's exonerated, they spent almost 9 years in prison. 22% of exonerations involve DNA evidence. All right, so even though it seems like a small number, just understand that DNA evidence definitely does play a big factor in things, because at the end of the day, it's not just DNA. It's a blend of eyewitness testimonies and alibis and things of that nature. 1 in 3 exonerations had the cooperation of police or prosecutors. 1 in 3 were sentenced to a minimum of 50 years in prison. So probably in there for murder, most likely, or unless they caught like a really big drug charge. 18% pleaded guilty despite being innocent. So that's a pretty good number right there of people pleading guilty, even though clearly they're innocent, because that's why they got exonerated. 19 were exonerated after they died. So unfortunately, there are people that, they die while being incarcerated. But just for the sake of clearing up their name, you get the families reopening their cases and bringing it up in court. Like, for example, you have the case of George Stinney, which I do recommend you watch this video. I don't have it on the syllabus, but basically, George Stinney was the youngest ever person to be put on death row at age 14. And basically, 70 years later, it was overturned. He was found to be innocent because it was an all-white jury. He was a young Black boy from the South. And basically, it didn't even take 3 hours for them to come up with a verdict to basically sentence this boy to death. And basically, for the following couple of months, he wasn't even allowed to see his parents and things of that nature. So he ended up being executed, unfortunately. Like, he was so small in his physical stature, like in his physical frame, that they actually made him sit on his Bible so that he can reach, like, so he can be big enough to fit in the electric chair. So it's a pretty sad story, but I would recommend that you watch that and get familiarized with it. And 6% had been on death row. Okay. So now, if we're looking at some of the error rate estimates, out of 100, for every 100 persons sentenced to death, that's incarcerated, you have 4 are likely innocent, but only 2 have been exonerated. So that means out of those 100, out of every 100, you'll have 2 that are innocent, but unfortunately end up dying at the hands of the state. All right. In the state, they have the power to stop an execution. I didn't put this in the syllabus, but there was a case last year with an individual. His name is Rodney Reed. And basically, Rodney Reed, within a week away, it was only a couple of days from being executed, not even a full week. And basically, the governor called the stay. A stay is basically when you postpone or delay somebody from being executed. So they were going to execute him for a crime that he was alleged to have committed back in the 90s, the murder of a woman that he had a relationship with. And yo, hold up, I gotta show y'all this. This is different right now. I got some company out here. Man, this is the culprit right here, man. This is the culprit. Cocotaco. Yo, listen, man, class is in session. Back to this right here. So yeah, Rodney Reed, he was alleged to have killed a white woman. His jury was all white. And basically this was in Texas. And he's allegedly accused of having killed the woman. He was having an affair with her, right? So like she was already in a relationship with someone and he was involved in an affair with her. But the question is not about anything else other than did he actually kill her or not. So they found the murder weapon was never tested for DNA evidence, right? And this is from the Innocence Project website. Requests for DNA testing of crime scene evidence, including of a belt that was used as a murder weapon, have been repeatedly denied by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. And the U.S. Supreme Court declined to directly review the Texas court's denial of DNA testing in 2018. The state's 3 forensic experts have admitted on record to errors in their testimonies, which led to Rodney's conviction and death sentence. Rodney Reed and Stacey Stites, which is the woman that got murdered, were having a consensual sexual relationship. At the time of the trial, no one came forward to corroborate the relationship. But today, new witnesses, including Stacey's own cousin and co-worker, have corroborated Rodney's claim that they knew that he and Stacey were romantically involved. Renowned forensic pathologists have all concluded that Rodney's guilt is medically and scientifically impossible. The prosecution's only forensic evidence linking Rodney to the crime was semen taken from Stacey's body, which was attributed to the consensual relationship between them. The prosecution used this to connect him to the murder and refute the consensual romantic relationship, but the testimony supporting this theory has since been recanted, completely discrediting the state's case. For months after the murder, Jimmy Fennell, Stacey's fiance, was a prime suspect in the case. Jimmy's best friend at the time of the crime has now revealed that Jimmy gave an inconsistent account of where he was on the night of the murder. 2 witnesses have recently come forward and submitted signed affidavits that added the mounting evidence against Jimmy Fennell. Jimmy later served a 10-year prison term for a sex crime and kidnapping. This case was racially charged. Rodney was a black man, was found guilty of murdering Stacey, a white woman, by an all-white jury. And a confession by Jimmy Fennell has come to light. On October 29, 2019, Arthur Snow, a former member of the Aryan Brotherhood, which is it's basically like a Nazi white supremacist group, gang, terrorist organization, affiliation group, whatever you want to call it. A member of the Aryan Brotherhood and Jimmy's prison mate disclosed that Jimmy had confessed to murdering Stacy, stating, "I had to kill my loving fiance" in a conversation. All right, so this was as recent as the end of last year in 2019. I know 2019 feels like 2 years ago already because 2020 has been on some on some other type of time, but that was just end of last year. If we're talking about wrongful convictions in general, for capital crimes such as murder and rape, this happens 3 to 5% of cases, right? Where basically new evidence comes to light that wasn't available during the original trial, and someone previously found guilty of a crime is suddenly clear. Serving an intake population of nearly 3,000 state prisoners in Pennsylvania, the researchers found that 6% reported being wrongfully convicted, right? So this is from Penn State, from UPenn, my bad. And basically they did a survey basically just inquiring how many people are innocent, and you had that many people come out of 3,000, 6% said that they were innocent. Now, innocent can obviously be, it could be, it's a gray area, like what they may mean by innocent. But in general, when you think of innocent, you think of, oh, I didn't commit the crime, or I wasn't the culprit in this situation. So, at least it shows that there's a lot of people that, because one person is a lot. If you're talking about innocent until proven guilty, clearly we're not following that code. So one person is already a lot, but imagine having hundreds of people that go through this kind of stuff, and especially if it's a sex crime, that's probably one of the worst things you could do. Because what ends up happening is, because of the prison codes and the jail codes, like, dudes is already waiting, to just violate, you know what I'm saying? Because you pretty much got a green light on you at any and every moment. So this is the Innocence Project project's website, a record year in exonerations. In 2018, together we exonerated 9 innocent people, right? So only 9 people in 2018, which that's great, you know what I'm saying? Because that's 9 lives that can go back to, trying to reestablish themselves. But 9 lives out of how many people that are behind bars? The most ever in the Innocence Project's 26-year history, and helped pass 17 wrongful conviction reforms in 14 states. After spending more than 215 years in prison combined, our clients are where they belong, home with their loved ones. So it's just crazy that just these few individuals that they exonerated combined, they were gonna do 215 years. It's crazy, And of course, you could go down the list and see some of the different cases or what have you, right? 200 total years in prison spent by 2018 exonerees. Okay, I'm trying to scroll. 208 people exonerated with the help of the Innocence Project. 362 DNA exonerations in the U.S. 13 states where we passed wrongful conviction reforms, and 15 wrongful conviction reforms passed. So even though obviously this is progress, it's very slow, it's very delayed, and the Innocence Project is a nonprofit organization, so they don't have, the Johnny Cochrans of the world. Like they have some good lawyers, of course, but it's like they have to figure out how they want to go about, solving cases, and which cases are the more high-profile cases and things of that nature. So it makes it pretty difficult to decide. Yo, these cats. If it's not the rooster, it's the dudes on the block. And then this last one is just to kind of give you a sense, like, it could happen to anybody. There was a boxer, his name was Ruben Hurricane Carter, and he basically was a professional boxer, similar to any other professional boxer. And basically back in 1966 in Paterson, New Jersey, he was basically found to be guilty of a homicide over in Paterson, New Jersey. Now, the reality of his case was that he was exonerated years later, almost 20 years later, and unfortunately, you know, his case took a long time. He finally did get released, but the moral of his story was that during the time that he spent in prison, he told the correctional officers and everyone in there, like, don't call me inmate, don't call me by my number, none of that. Like, my body may be incarcerated, but my mind is still free. And you know, it just kind of shows the power that some people have to be able to, you know, work through these kinds of situations. But at the end of the day, obviously, those are years that you never get back. You can always get money back and resources and property, but you can never get your time back. So, you know, check out the George Stinney case. There's a YouTube movie on him. It's a sad story, obviously, but it's one that we have to learn about because history, unfortunately, has repeated itself many times. And just as recent as last year, they were trying to execute this man over here, Rodney Reed, you know. And even earlier this year, they found two men, you know, and in New Jersey, they basically exonerated and overturned their sentences as well and freed them. So if you have any questions, obviously email me. Feel free to hit me through the gram, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to support. And in the meantime, enjoy your time. I hope you enjoyed the background, you know, the background effects and all that. And I'm going to catch you soon. Have a good one.